Well, they shut out Trinidad in the first Nations League tournament game, 3-0. Last week we talked. If you're a soccer fan, feel free to join this conversation. Last week we talked about the fact they did not have Christian Pulisic. They did not have Tim Weah, both of them out with hamstring injuries. And they loaded the roster with the kids. And Gio Reyna and Ricardo Pepi both scored goals.
Cool.
They scored 3 goals in a 7-minute span as they shut out Trinidad. They will play Trinidad later tonight, Monday night, in the second game of that series. They win that, they move on into the Nations League. So that's the big story there is, you look at, I just think from a potential standpoint, Pulisic, you add into that Blogan, who came at the middle of last summer and has played really well. Then you add in Pepe, and obviously Reyna is now taking a step forward as a young 18-year-old and is playing pretty well. I think they're going to have a lot of firepower there. The other soccer story is a really weird one. Everton from the English Premier League. They've been under investigation for 2 years about illegal financial transactions and not reporting certain revenue streams as it relates to the salary cap. Over the weekend, and I've never seen this before, and maybe because it's soccer and it's Europe, it's different. Over the weekend, the English Premier League handed them a letter stripping them of 10 points in the standings off this year's team.
Whoa.
That's like going to the Padres and saying, you did something wrong as it relates to luxury tax. We're taking away 10 wins.
That's I've
out
never
of the
heard
standings.
Of that.
No, I've never heard of it either.
Mm-hmm.
That knocks Everton from the middle of the pack down into relegation because they lose 10 points in the standings this year. I've never heard that. So that's a huge problem because if you get knocked out of the English Premier League and you drop down to the second division, like it's called the Championship League,
mm-hmm.
the amount of revenue coming in the door is drastically reduced.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that'd be deathly. It's interesting. I saw the logo. You know how I got introduced to the English Premier League?
How?
I was standing on the first base line at Petco Park one night, just talking to John Moores and Larry Lucchino. And somehow the conversation drifted from baseball into the English Premier League. And John Moores investigated buying 50% control of Everton in the EPL.
Interesting.
This was in the early days before everybody, Fenway Sports Group and all these other people, the Glazers that own these pro franchises, dove into the EPL. John considered it, and at the last minute, he elected not to do it. But that's how I got introduced to the English Premier League, and that's why if you call my house at 4:30 Saturday morning, I might be up watching an EPL game because I love the English Premier League. Everton's in big trouble.
Well, look at you, like hanging out with all the big wigs in the Padre organization. I wouldn't expect anything less. I have a question though about the Premier League because Everton is one of the premier teams of that league, right?
Well, they've had flashes of years that they were okay. They're not Manchester United that goes back to the 1950s, and they're not Manchester City, which is the current flag carrier of greatness. And it's not Arsenal that had a decade run, and it's not Liverpool that had the unbeaten season recently. They used to be solid, but they're not solid now.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. But I guess my question is have there been any big name programs that have fallen down in relegation?
Not big name, but they might be the first one to go.
Yeah, because it seems like the ones that cycle through in and out are kind of the lesser teams that we don't really hear much about.
There's a story that I wrote about a couple weeks ago, and it was about, quote, the fair play rule, which in essence is the salary cap. And I think the number was Manchester United. Their total payroll was $289 million. And the newest team in the EPL, it's called Luton Town. They were just upgraded from the Championship League.
Mm-hmm.
For the fans that don't know, the bottom 3 teams each year in the EPL get relegated down one level. And the top 3 teams in the Championship League jump up. The payroll for Manchester United for the Red Devils, I think, was $289 million. Luton Town's payroll, I think, is $49 million. You talk about massive disparity. So even though it's neat to have 20 teams in the English Premier League, the bottom half of the bottom half, and they come in and they come out of relegation.
Well, 49 million is still a hell of a lot more than what Fisher is playing the Oakland A's.
Exactly. Okay, we go from that last topic on the table before